Hello, fellow coaches. Coach Bascom here. I just wanted to do a quick video on best coaching practices. These are a number of things that I have learned over the years by experience. These are all mistakes that I've made and principles that I've come to implement in my practices. And I've noticed huge improvement from them. Before I go over them, I just want to say briefly, I'm really excited for this year, and I think something I really want to focus on this year is just quality of coaching. I think it's the biggest variable that we can control that will make our program successful. We don't have a lot of control over the quality of players we get, whether players stay or go, how good our opponents are versus how bad. There's just like a lot of variables, but one thing that we can kind of control and that will build a great program is just quality coaching. Quality coaching, being good at what we do. And I don't want to put any pressure on anybody to, this is your first year coaching. You don't have to be amazing. You don't have to be perfect. But we just want to support you guys and being good coaches. I think a practice is you feel so much better after a practice when it goes well. And you feel so much better before a practice when you don't have to put a ton of time and thought into it, and you can execute it well and kind of give quality practice to the kids. So anyways, these are three really big ones for me. So the first one is short, specific explanations, reinforced with cues during a drill. There's a real danger, especially when you begin coaching and you know a fair amount of rugby and you're coaching kids who don't know anything about rugby, to dump a massive amount of information on them, over-explain, over-coach, and they just end up standing around a lot with kind of like not really playing rugby or doing rugby, but just listening to you. So something we want to avoid. So an example being, if you're going to do a passing drill, something that I will do is just say, I want you guys to partner up, and these are the three things I want you to think about. Elbow bent at 90 degrees, palms facing, or I'll say elbows and hands. Elbows at 90 degrees, elbows out, palms facing your partner, fingers down. And then that's a 30-second explanation with four really concrete things, and they start passing, and I start yelling at people, oh, you got to bend your elbow more, kick it out more, palms towards your guy, fingers down. Just reinforce with cues, okay? So I will try to avoid spending 3 to 4 minutes talking about a million different things about how to pass a rugby ball, but just 30 seconds, 4 quick points. Similarly with tackling, any other skill, or even bigger scale drills, try to keep it simple, and quick, and get them flowing into the drill, and then reinforce whenever you want it on the go, okay? The more time kids play rugby, the better they get. If they start standing around listening to people talk, it's usually not super productive unless it's short, concrete, specific, and they can carry it straight into action 30 seconds later. Okay, and then number 2 is efficient drills, and I put this 30% minimum. What I mean by that is sometimes you'll have a great drill, but if you don't organize it efficiently, players will get very few repetitions, and they won't actually get that much better. So an obvious example of this is, let's say you have a 1v1 tackling drill, and it's a really good drill. You gave a really clear explanation. The parameters are really obvious. They're working on things that are concrete. They're getting quality repetitions. They're getting feedback. But you've got 20 players on your team, and you set up one drill. So only 10%, 2 players out of 20 are going at any one time. And so 10% of the time they're doing rugby, and 90% of the time they're standing around, okay? And that is super inefficient. You're going to spend 20 minutes, kids are going to make 3 tackles, and 3 tackles in 20 minutes is not going to make you better at rugby, okay? So like a 30% minimum is something, it varies a little bit depending on the intensity of the drill. Ideally, it's everybody all the time. Like a passing drill is not something that's like stationary passing. It's not very intense. Ideally, everybody's passing the whole time, 100% people participating in the drill, and 0% of people are just standing around waiting. Something more intense like a tackle drill or a breakdown drill, they can't just tackle after tackle after tackle with no rest. They need brief rest, but it should be pretty brief. So like you tackle once and then you wait for 2 tackles and then you're on again. So if I had 20 kids and a 1v1 tackle drill, I'd make, probably like 4 grids. So 8 kids are going while 12 are off. Or maybe if I want If it's the beginning of the year and I want a little bit more control, it might be 6 kids are going while 14 kids are off. Okay, so anytime you have a drill in mind, that's something to think about, is making sure kids are doing lots of rugby. Okay, and then the third one is clean transitions. I'm a little nitpicky, but something I really hate as a coach is like setting up cones while the kids are standing around watching me, and it's a waste of time and I'm under pressure. I kind of hate that. I like nice, clean transitions. I think there are 2 obvious ways to accomplish this, and that is the coaches. You have more than one coach, hopefully 2 coaches per age band, and you alternate leading. Okay, so basically, let's say at the beginning, oftentimes I will lead the skills portion that we'll begin practice with, and James, my brother, will lead the contact portion. And so what I can get to practice a little bit early, I can set up all the skill stuff and have everything in my mind that we're gonna run, and then I run the skills, and while I'm running the skills, James can kind of help for a little bit, but then he can bounce out, he can set up the cones, he can think about what he's gonna do, and then as soon as I'm done with skills, I can say, all right, now grab a quick sip of water and go to Coach James. And then the kids go over, everything's set up, he explains, and we're right into it. And then maybe I have a break while he's doing the contact stuff to partially spend time helping, individual corrections, but also to go and set up the next thing that I'm gonna run. So we alternating leads, which can be a great way to do practice. Another one is, let's say one of you is significantly more experienced, has more time to prep, whatever it is, and the other guy's a little bit less sure of himself and not as comfortable kind of taking the lead. You could have a lead coach, assistant coach role where the lead coach introduces all the drills. He introduces it, he gets it flowing, he gets everything going. The assistant coach kind of watches, gets the feel for it, and then kind of takes over running it. You're doing 20 minutes of passing. The lead coach is there for 15 minutes, and then for the last 5, he walks away to set up the next thing. And the assistant coach makes sure everything keeps going and goes well. And then when you're done with that drill, the lead coach has got the next thing set up, brings the kids in, explains, and you can kind of roll through practice like that. So these are 3 great coaching tips, which I think really make a huge difference on the aggregate of making practice go really well so that we can build our players up. Cheers.